A very good evening and welcome to the news at 6 here on Rajya Sabha TV, where we get you the day's developing top stories. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi kicks off BJP's election campaign in Assam, inaugurates key projects and the 12th South Asian Games in Guwahati. Nine people arrested. 2 police officials are suspended for alleged assault and stripping of a Tanzanian student in Bengaluru. The Tanzanian High Commissioner and External Affairs Ministry officials joined the probe. Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung intervenes in Delhi's sanitation crisis, meets mayors and offers 300 crore rupees of loan to pay workers' salaries. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari wraps up his 3-day visit to Thailand, calls on the Thai Princess Mahachakri Sirindorn. And Indian teams for the World T20 and Asia Cup are announced. Mohammad Shami and Virat Kohli are recalled into the side. Top story this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a hectic day-long trip to Assam today. Apart from inaugurating key projects in the region, he also kicked off the BJP's election campaign in the poll-bound state. Later in the evening, he addressed the annual conference of the Srimanta Shankaradeva Sangha in Shivsagar. His last engagement of the day was the inauguration of the 12th South Asian Games in Guwahati.
On a day-long visit to Assam, Prime Minister Narendra Modi suggested a new development model for the northeastern states. He inaugurated 2 projects, a 10,000 crore petrochemical plant and a wax-making unit at the Numaligarh oil refinery. The Prime Minister said the development of the northeast region is a matter of priority for his government.
भारत के पूर्वी छोर का विकास, इस पर सबसे ज्यादा बल देना ये हमारी सरकार की प्राथमिकता है। और तभी जाकर के भारत का संतुलित विकास होगा, भारत का सर्वांगीण विकास होगा।
The Prime Minister then officially launched the BJP's election campaign in the poll-bound state by beating the traditional drum in Dibrugarh, the hometown of party's chief ministerial candidate Sarbanand Sonowal. In his rally speech, Modi lashed out at the Gandhi family, blaming them for parliament disruptions.
एक परिवार अड़ा हुआ है कि हम राज्यसभा चलने नहीं देंगे, हम देश का कोई काम होने नहीं देंगे, क्योंकि देश की जनता ने हमें हराया क्यों, हम उसका बदला लेंगे और वो मजदूरों से बदला लेंगे। ये बोनस का कानून लोकसभा में पारित हो गया, राज्यसभा में आगे बढ़ाना है, वो राज्यसभा चलने ही नहीं दे रहे।
He also used the occasion to flag the issue of Assamese pride, urging people to give one chance to the BJP to form a government in the state. He contended that laws for the welfare of the state can be put in place only when there is a government in Guwahati which listens to the centre.
एक मौका भारतीय जनता पार्टी को भी देकर के देखिए, आसाम नंबर 1 बना करके रखिए।
Post the election rally, the Prime Minister addressed the annual conference of the 15th century Vaishnavite saint Srimant Shankaradev in Shivsagar. Over 3 lakh Vaishnavite devotees from across the state assembled at the 85th session of the conference. Modi then flew to Guwahati to inaugurate the 12th South Asian Games. 8 South Asian countries, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka are participating in the Games, being jointly hosted by Guwahati and Shillong. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And continuing that war of words between the government and the opposition Congress party, Vice President Rahul Gandhi has refuted allegations levelled by the Prime Minister. Responding to the PM's charge of one family not letting Parliament function smoothly, the Congress Vice President asked Modi not to make excuses and focus on working for the people of the country.
Well, the job of the Prime Minister is to run the country. The job of the Prime Minister is not to make excuses. The Prime Minister, all the Prime Minister has been doing for the last 1.5 years is to make excuses why the economy is not running, make excuses why the farmers are not getting their due, make excuses about why laborers are not getting what they should get. India did not choose Mr. Narendra Modi to make excuses. India chose a leader. And the leader should not make excuses. The leader should do the job that he's been elected to do.
All right, so just about less than 2 weeks to go for the budget session of Parliament, of course, to begin. We are already seeing that war of words between both the parties, between Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi as well, intensifying. Vishal Daya, correspondent, in fact, joining us now from the newsroom. Vishal, like we are pointing out, the war of words getting stronger. Just an indication of how things are going to pan out in the coming weeks.
Well, yes, Tracy, you are right. In fact, in the days to come, this war of words is likely to gain further momentum because if you look at the recent, spate of allegations and counter-allegations which have been made by both BJP and Congress against each other, then this is a clear indication of what we can witness inside the budget session. Earlier, there were, issues related to Manrega, wherein the Congress party alleged that the BJP, specifically in those states where it has state governments or it is running state governments in those particular states, the acts which were put in place by previous UPA government, for example, Manrega, the Forest Rights Acts, all these acts which dealt with the poor people, the tribal people, they're not being used properly, they're not being implemented properly. And then before that, there was this overall issue of, the cases of suicides by Dalit scholars in the Hyderabad University campus, which was obviously given a lot of, a push by the Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi by making 2 visits. And now another, angle which has come in between both Congress and BJP is the fresh allegations which have been leveled by the Congress party against the Gujarat Chief Minister and the Prime Minister himself regarding, allocation of land to a particular company which has links with the Gujarat Chief Minister's daughter, Anar Patel. And this is an event which took place when the Prime Minister was the Chief Minister of Gujarat and the current Chief Minister of Gujarat was then the Revenue Minister. So obviously, all these allegations are going to be used by the Congress party during the budget session as a ploy to corner the government and to try and gain more support from the opposition. But as far as the government is concerned, the government has made its, its side of the story clear, and that is quite, significant statement which has been made by the Prime Minister today, wherein he accused the first family of the Congress party of not letting the Parliament function smoothly. So, all in all, the picture, or rather the entire game and scenario for the budget session is all set. Both sides are fine-tuning their strategies, and we might see more stronger words coming in from both camps in the days to come.
Absolutely, and this is poll season as well, so definitely some strong words from both sides. Thanks so much, Vishal, for joining us for the moment. We'll keep an eye out, of course, on developments on that front. Meanwhile, let's head on to Bengaluru, where 9 people have been arrested and 2 police officials suspended for the alleged assault and stripping of a Tanzanian student. The 2 suspended police officials include Inspector Praveen Babu and Constable Manjunath. Meanwhile, the Tanzanian High Commissioner, John W.H. Kizazi, and the External Affairs Ministry officials reached the city today. Karnataka Home Minister G. Parmeshwara has denied that the victim was stripped or assaulted. He also claimed that it was not a racial attack. The incident took place on Sunday night when an angry mob attacked the 21-year-old student in a case of what they're now calling mistaken identity. The mob was reportedly reacting to a woman being mowed down by a car driven by a Sudanese national.
Total 9 persons have been arrested. Yesterday morning, a day before 5, and yesterday evening, 4 more people have been arrested. Presence of the policemen were found there, and out of them, 2 fellows have been already suspended, and the further inquiry is going on. As you know, that the Honorable Home Minister has yesterday said that there will be an inquiry by the Additional Commissioner of Police West, and within 48 hours the report has to be submitted. So accordingly, once the report comes, other things will also follow.
This is not only an embarrassment for Bangaloreans. This is a major issue wherein some international relationships are also attached to it. The law and order is a state subject. It is the responsibility of the state government to see that such things should not happen.
Onto the national capital. In an attempt to resolve the issue of the MCD workers, Lieutenant Governor Najib Jang today separately met the three mayors of the municipal corporations at Rajnivas. Keeping in mind the difficulties being faced by the people of Delhi, the Lieutenant Governor today made a unilateral offer of 300 crores loan to the North and East Corporation from the DDA. The Delhi government also released an amount of 693 crores to the corporations. The total amount of 1,000 crores will reportedly take care of the salaries of all employees and officials till the 31st of March. The Lieutenant Governor has now appealed to the MCD employee unions to call off their strike and resume work in the interest of the people of the city and of the people as well. Meanwhile, the Delhi High Court today criticized the MCD for its workers' strike that has entered the 10th day today and issued notices to all the unions.
मैं अपील करता हूं, हम तीनों मेयर अपील करते हैं कि वो जल्द से जल्द स्ट्राइक से बाहर आए और दिल्ली के अंदर वो सर्विसेज को बहाल करें। और जैसा कि हमने एलजी साहब से भी कहा है और केजरीवाल सरकार को भी हम पुनः चेतावनी देते हैं कि वो जल्द से जल्द दिल्ली नगर निगमों को परमानेंट सोल्यूशन दें।
इंश्योर कर पा रहे हैं तो अब उनको काम पर आना ही चाहिए। जो उनके पुराने एरियर्स की बात है उसकी उस समस्या का समाधान केवल और केवल चौथे वित्त आयोग के इम्प्लीमेंटेशन से होने वाला है।
The opposition Left Democratic Front today boycotted the governor's customary address of the last session of the current Kerala Assembly. At one stage, the governor had told the LDF opposition members to sit quietly or leave as they tried to disrupt his address. This was after he started his speech citing key achievements of the Chandi government that is facing bribery allegations in the bar and solar scams. The session that will last till the 25th of February is expected to be turbulent on account of the upcoming assembly elections and the two major cases facing the Chandi government. With that, let's take you through what else made news across the country today in Nationwide. Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari has expressed grief of the death of 10 army personnel in an avalanche in Siachen Glacier in Jammu and Kashmir. The 10 personnel were buried under a mass of snow after being hit by an avalanche on Wednesday at a high-altitude post on the glacier. The Chief of Army Staff, General Darbir Singh, also extended his condolences and ordered deployment of additional resources to reinforce rescue efforts. At least 14 people were injured when nearly 9 coaches of the Bangalore-Kanyakumari Island Express derailed near Vellore. The passengers were rescued and treated at the local government hospital. Preliminary investigations show that the derailment seems to be because of a break in the rail line. The National Green Tribunal today agreed to make a one-time exception to its order which banned all vehicles older than 15 years from plying on Delhi roads. They gave its nod for the 6th edition of the 21 Gun Salute International Vintage Car Rally in the national capital on the 6th and the 7th of February. Around 100 vintage cars and 25 vintage bikes will go from Red Fort to Greater Noida, and around 50,000 people are expected to participate. A Delhi court today remanded 11 suspected ISIS operatives to the NIA custody for 7 days. The suspects were arrested from across the country for allegedly recruiting and financing people to join the Middle East terror group. The accused were produced in court amid tight security after expiry of their NIA custody. The NIA had initially sought custodial interrogation for 10 more days. With that, we'll take a quick break here. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
In science, failures teach you sometimes as much as the successes do. There's no successful malaria vaccine. Correct. There are drugs to which the parasite becomes resistant, but the problem is why you don't have a vaccine, why you have resistance. The understanding of the molecular details help you address these issues they may take time, in a more efficient way.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Pushkar Sharma, scientist at National Institute of Immunology. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Now, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari today wrapped up his 3-day visit to Thailand after calling on Thai Princess Mahachakri Sindhorn today. In fact, the princess will be conferred with the first World Sanskrit Award by India. Sirindorn is a 60-year-old scholar of Sanskrit who was also the royal patron of the World Sanskrit Conference held in Bangkok last year. She will visit India to receive the award. She will be among top Thai leaders who are expected to visit India this year. The dignitaries include Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha, Prince Maha Vajiralongkorn, and the Deputy Prime Minister and the Defence Minister as well. Over 600 Sanskrit scholars from 60 countries participated in the 5-day World Sanskrit Conference last year, which was inaugurated by External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj is in Sri Lanka for a 2-day visit. On the first day of her visit, she called on Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who sought Indian investment and offered partnership in setting up a special economic zone in the country. This is Swaraj's second visit to the country within a year. The Sri Lankan PM has also proposed to make a joint commission meeting an annual affair. The Joint Commission was set up in 1992 as a mechanism to address issues of bilateral cooperation. The last meeting of the Joint Commission was held in New Delhi in January 2013. Sushma and her Lankan counterpart, Mangala Samaravira, will co-chair the 9th Joint Commission meeting. The talks will cover the entire gamut of Indo-Lankan bilateral ties, including economic cooperation, trade, power and energy, technical and maritime cooperation, besides health, civil aviation, tourism and people-to-people contact. The fishermen issue is also likely to be raised in the meeting. Swaraj will also be calling on President Maithripala Sirisena and the former President Chandrika Ramatunga, besides meeting other top leaders. Now, a legal panel of the United Nations says that Julian Assange should be allowed to walk free or be compensated for the deprivation of his liberty. Both Sweden and the UK government denounced the decision. In fact, the British Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond said that the panel's opinion was ridiculous and said that Assange is a fugitive from justice. The ruling is not legally binding in the UK, where a European arrest warrant is in place. It places UK under a legal obligation to extradite Assange. Assange is currently wanted in Sweden on rape allegations, which he has denied. He was arrested in 2010 and has been dealing with the legal process since then.
The diplomatic effect will be to make life difficult for Sweden and the United Kingdom to be treated seriously as international players that obey their international legal obligations. Their attempts, if they proceed, to undermine the UN system.
Detention can be legal, so it can be made according to existing laws and procedures, but these laws and procedures may be in violation of fundamental human rights. So if it's the case, then the decision is legal, but can be arbitrary.
The UN report states that he has been detained for 3.5 years by Sweden. Then I see no other way out of this for Sweden and the prosecutor but to cancel the decision to detain Julian Assange in absentia and to close the case.
Of course, he is expecting immediate reaction by the Swedish and UK government, the lifting of the arrest warrant. The UK will hand in his passport and he will have his liberty back, which is about time after 5.5 years in detention.
Europe today confirmed its first case of Zika virus. Spanish Health Ministry said a pregnant woman who recently returned from Colombia has been infected. Meanwhile, Zika cases in Brazil have raised concerns of the virus transmission beyond mosquitoes. This was after 2 cases appear to have been triggered by blood transfusions in Brazil on Thursday. Here's more.
Spain on Friday confirmed a fresh case of Zika infection, the first of its kind in Europe. According to the Spanish Health Ministry, a pregnant woman who recently returned from Colombia is infected. 7 other cases were also confirmed in Spain.
La mayoría de los casos que han ocurrido en Brasil, en Colombia, incluso en Micronesia, han sido casos donde hay mosquito. Entonces, ¿cómo se infectó? ¿Por el mosquito o por transmisión sexual? Evidentemente, hasta ahora, lo más importante es el mosquito. O sea, yo diría 99.9% de la evidencia señala al mosquito. Obviamente, los científicos estamos buscando si es posible también la transmisión sexual.
The South Pacific island nation of Tonga also declared an outbreak of the Zika, with 5 confirmed cases and another 259 suspected. In Australia, an adult who recently returned from Central America has tested positive to Zika virus. Meanwhile, in Brazil, concerns over Zika virus is mounting. This after 2 cases of Zika being transmitted through blood transfusions were reported in Brazil. Unsanitary conditions in slums adds to their worries, as it provides breeding grounds for mosquitoes spreading Zika virus. Brazil will hold a national mobilization day later on Saturday to eradicate mosquitoes in homes and the offices.
Mas esse canal faz tempo que tá parado assim, com essa água parada. Muita muriçoca de noite, ninguém consegue dormir.
Então, a muriçoca que tem, ó, já tá tudo fechado, tá vendo? Eles passam esses Telenol pra gente tomar.
In Honduras, President Juan Orlando appealed for help in controlling the spread of Zika. 3,500 cases have been reported in Honduras. A vaccine for Zika seems a far-reaching dream, even though Bharat Biotech in India claimed they have developed one. The US, Brazil and other Latin American countries are closely monitoring the situation. The biggest concern now is microcephaly, a birth defect caused by Zika virus. Yet, the link with Zika and birth defects is still only strongly suspected. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now let's get you some more international news updates in Global Buzz. The Syria Donors Conference in London wrapped up last night with chairs of the conference hailing it as a success. British Prime Minister Cameron announced that $6 billion have been raised for the Syrian crisis for 2016, with a further $5 billion until 2020. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said that the conference was an unprecedented success. 49 people have been detained in connection with the chemical blast in the Chinese city of Tianjin. The blast occurred last August, killing 165 people. The government said on Friday that the blast put losses at more than $1 billion. Anger over safety standards is growing in China, and President Xi has vowed that authorities will learn the lessons paid with blood. Hillary Clinton went on the attack against rival Bernie Sanders on Thursday in their most contentious presidential debate so far. She questioned if his ambitious proposals were viable, while Sanders fought back repeatedly, accusing Clinton of misrepresenting the political establishment. The intensity of the exchanges increased over who would best lead the Democratic Party in the November elections. With high levels of unemployment in Zimbabwe, Mugabe's government last year announced a scheme to export graduates to countries including South Sudan, Botswana, Angola and Namibia. The scheme was aimed at promoting brain circulation on the African continent. Now, President Mugabe is debating whether to make exported workers send back 25% of their salaries to their families or deposit it into a pool monitored by the government. All right, let's turn to some sports news. And in fact, in cricket, the Indian teams for the World T20 and Asia Cup were announced today. The units are along similar lines that contributed to the landmark 3-0 win against Australia and were named for 3 matches against Sri Lanka. The only changes being that Mohammad Shami was recalled and so was Virat Kohli.
Seamer Mohammad Shami has been picked in the Indian squad for the World T20 and Asia Cup. Shami had returned from Australia with a hamstring injury and has not played for India since the 2015 World Cup. Virat Kohli, who was not part of the team for the 3 T20Is against Sri Lanka after being rested, has also made a comeback. He replaces Manish Pandey in the squad. Shami replaces Bhuvneshwar Kumar.
The advantage with Mohammad Shami is from now we have 30 days before we start the World Cup, T20 World Cup. Also we have the Asia Cup. So we have good time for, making a call on Mohammad Shami. He's been one of the best bowlers. He has recovered. He has started bowling. That's all I can say at the moment.
The squad includes Mahendra Singh Dhoni as captain and wicket-keeper, Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Suresh Raina, Yuvraj Singh, Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Ravichandran Ashwin, Ashish Nehra, Harbhajan Singh, Mohammad Shami and Pawan Negi.
It is very important for selectors to pinpoint that in this shorter format, horses and courses have worked well. Looking at the last 8 IPL tournaments and whatever domestic IPL T20 tournaments BCCI arranges and organizes and play, we have taken into account all the performances of not just 15, 16 guys, but those who have been part of this domestic cricket.
Pawan Negi is the only uncapped player in the squad and has been picked based on his performance in the IPL and Ranji. He bowls quick left-arm spin and is a big hitter down the order. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some more updates from the world of sports in SportsBeat. The Supreme Court today directed the BCCI to implement the recommendations of the Justice R.M. Lodha committee that has suggested massive restructuring of the cricket body. The Apex Court gave the board 4 weeks to respond on implementing the committee's suggestions. The India women cricket team retained the squad that won a historic T20 series against Australia recently for the Women's World T20 that starts in India from the 15th of March. The team will be captained by Mithali Raj, under whom the Indian women team had scripted history by recording their first ever bilateral series triumph against Australia last month. Former Ferrari boss Luca Di Montezemolo today said that the latest news about the health of 7-time Formula One world champion Michael Schumacher is not good. The German is still receiving intensive treatment at his home in Switzerland after severe head injuries that he suffered in a skiing accident in France in 2013. And that's all we have for you on the news at 6. Thanks so much for joining us.